The Good Morning America studio glowed under a dozen bright lights, each one angled perfectly to capture the warm, polished sheen of a live morning show. Producers buzzed around the set, sound engineers adjusted mics, and stage assistants whispered final notes to the hosts. There was a particular hum in the air today, an expectant tension that even the crew could feel. The guest of honor wasn't just any actor promoting his latest film. It was Morgan Freeman. Michael Strahan, seated behind the glossy glass table, flashed his practiced smile as the floor manager counted down. In 5, 4, 3. The cameras panned in, the audience applauded on cue, and the music faded out. "Good morning, America!" Strahan's voice was energetic, confident. "We've got a very special show for you today." The man sitting across from me needs no introduction. An Academy Award winner, one of the most respected voices in Hollywood, and truly, one of the all-time greats. Please welcome Mr. Morgan Freeman. The audience burst into applause as Freeman walked onto the set, his slow, dignified stride commanding attention without effort. He wore a dark gray suit with a black shirt open at the collar, no tie, no flash, just a man comfortable in his own skin. He gave a small, almost shy nod to the crowd before shaking Strahan's hand. "Michael," he said in that unmistakable voice, low, calm, with that warm, resonant timbre that seemed to roll through the air and settle into the bones. "Mr. Freeman," Strahan grinned. "I gotta say, that voice, it's something else. The audience is already mesmerized." Freeman chuckled softly, a deep rumble. "I've heard that a few times," he said. "Though I like to think it's what I say that people remember." Of course, Strahan laughed. "But let's be real, sir. If I had your voice, I'd narrate everything I did. Even breakfast." A ripple of laughter filled the room. Freeman smiled politely. "That might get old fast," he said dryly. The chemistry was good at first. Strahan knew how to build comfort, to let charm carry a conversation. But underneath that smooth rhythm, there was something taut in Freeman's demeanor. A quiet firmness. He didn't fill the silence with jokes or filler words. Every sentence he spoke seemed measured, grounded. "So," Strahan continued, flipping through his cue cards, "you've got a new film coming out. It's already getting some Oscar buzz and people are saying it's one of your most powerful roles yet." Freeman nodded slowly. "It's a story about dignity, about how people lose it and how they fight to get it back." "Dignity," Strahan repeated, smiling. "That's a word we don't hear enough these days." "Because people don't practice it enough," Freeman said simply. The crowd gave a soft, thoughtful murmur. Strahan laughed lightly to ease the tone. "You're not wrong there. You've been in Hollywood a long time, Mr. Freeman. You've seen a lot of changes. What's the biggest difference between the industry when you started and now?" Freeman tilted his head slightly. "When I started," he said, "you had to earn your place. There were no shortcuts, no social media, no instant fame. If people respected you, it's because you'd done the work. Now it feels like respect has turned into a currency, traded and spent instead of lived." Strahan nodded thoughtfully, though his producer's voice was whispering in his earpiece, "Push him a bit. Get something viral." "That's a powerful statement," Strahan said. "But let me ask you this. Do you think maybe younger generations see it differently? I mean, some say respect should go both ways, right? Older generations need to respect the new ways, too." Freeman's expression didn't change, but the silence after that question carried weight. He looked directly at Strahan, and when he spoke, his voice was quieter, but far more commanding. "Respect does go both ways," he said. "But it starts somewhere. You can't demand it before you've shown it." The audience clapped gently, sensing the gravity. Strahan smiled, but there was a glint in his eyes now. He leaned forward slightly, his tone teasing. "Come on, though. Some people say you're pretty old school about that stuff. A little tough on set, maybe?" Freeman raised an eyebrow. "Tough? Yeah, directors have said you're very particular, that you don't tolerate nonsense." Strahan chuckled. "Some even say you can be a little intimidating." Freeman didn't smile. He looked at Strahan with a steady, almost fatherly kind of calm, the kind that made everyone else in the room shrink a little. "Michael," he said after a pause, "there's a difference between being intimidating and having standards. When people aren't used to professionalism, they call it intimidation." The words landed like a stone in still water. The audience went quiet again. Strahan tried to laugh it off. "Hey, I get it. I've been called intimidating on the football field before." But the studio lights dimmed as the segment cut to commercial, but the weight of Morgan Freeman's words still hung in the air like the final note of a song no one wanted to end. The audience's murmurs filled the room, half in awe, half in disbelief. Michael Strahan sat motionless for a moment, his earpiece buzzing with producers talking over each other, voices clipped and frantic. "Okay, that was something," the stage manager muttered as the floor crew hurried to reset for the next segment. "Can we get the panel ready for the cooking demo?" But Strahan didn't move. He sat forward, elbows on his knees, looking down at the cue card still in his hand. His bright television grin had faded, replaced by a thoughtful stillness. "He really said that," he whispered under his breath. "He really meant it." Out in the hallway, Morgan Freeman was making his way toward the green room. Assistants trailed behind him, each carrying headsets, clipboards, and the weight of what had just happened. His publicist, a poised woman in her 40s named Dana, caught up quickly, heels tapping across the polished floor. "Morgan," she said carefully, "I know that interview got a little heated at the end." He stopped walking and turned to her with that same unhurried calm. "Heated?" he repeated softly. "I'd call it honest." Dana adjusted her blazer, exhaling through her nose. "You were honest, and I respect that. But this is national television. People twist things. They clip 5 seconds and spin it into something you didn't mean." Freeman gave a slow, knowing nod. "They can spin the words," he said, "but they can't spin the truth. Not if people are really listening." They reached the green room, a sleek, modern space with muted gray couches and a table lined with untouched pastries and fruit. Freeman sat down, unhurried, and reached for a cup of tea that had long gone lukewarm. He sipped it anyway. Dana sat beside him, phone in hand. Notifications were already pinging. "It's blowing up," she said, scrolling. "Clips, quotes, hashtags. Morgan Freeman shuts down Strahan is trending already." He gave a soft sigh, more weary than surprised. "Of course it is. People love a fight." "Except it wasn't a fight," Dana replied. "It was something else." Freeman didn't respond right away. He looked at the television on the wall, muted now, showing a replay of Good Morning America's studio audience applauding. His expression softened a little, a flicker of sadness beneath the surface. "You know, Dana," he said quietly, "when I started out in this business, I used to dream about being seen. Now I wonder if people even see each other anymore." She glanced at him, puzzled. "What do you mean?" "I mean, we talk to be heard," he said, "not to understand. Michael wasn't trying to disrespect me. He was trying to make a moment. That's what they teach now. Create viral television, keep the energy high, make everything a show. But there used to be space for thought, for pause." Dana set her phone down, listening. "You think that's gone?" He chuckled softly. "Oh, it's not gone. Just buried. Buried under noise." At that moment, a knock came at the door. It was one of the producers, young, visibly nervous, clutching a tablet. "Mr. Freeman, sir, Michael asked if you'd be willing to come back for a quick wrap-up after the cooking segment. Just to end things on a lighter note." Freeman looked up from his tea, expression unreadable. "A lighter note," he repeated. "They always want to end on one, don't they?" Dana stepped in. "We'll think about it," she said, then gently closed the door before he could answer. Freeman leaned back, his eyes half closed. They don't want a conversation. They want a clean ending. Meanwhile, on set, Michael Strahan was adjusting his tie, but he couldn't shake the heaviness from earlier. His co-host leaned over. "You okay? You looked rattled." He laughed faintly. "Yeah, He stopped, searching for the words. "He wasn't wrong, you know. About respect." His co-host smiled sympathetically. Hey, it's live TV. You keep it moving. But Strahan didn't move on. As the next segment rolled, he found himself glancing toward the hallway every few seconds, wondering if Freeman was still there. There was something about the way the man had looked at him, not angry, not superior, just certain, like a teacher who knows the lesson will sink in later. When the cooking demo wrapped and the cameras cut to commercial again, Strahan stood abruptly. "I'll be right back," he said, ignoring the producer waving a cue card. He walked down the hallway and found Freeman still in the green room, watching silently as a muted news feed replayed clips from earlier. The closed captions read, "Morgan Freeman reminds us what dignity sounds like."